Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'll show you how I do my nails using peel base on my actual nail. For this, you will need your dip liquids, peel base, orange stick, paper towels and lint-free wipes, buffer block, nail file, clear and colored dip powder, and your pH prep. Okay, so here is my naked nail. My nail popped off on this finger, so all I've done so far is file any lifting in the clear that I had, and I applied some pH prep on my natural nail. And so now I'm just going in with my first coat of base bond, and you want to keep them thin. That's my opinion, the key to your nails. You want to keep them thin. And I'm just touching up my clear base right now. So I'm doing one full coverage coat. Normally I would, go 3/4 of the way down, but since it's my clear base that's going under my peel base, I want it to be the full coverage. Then you're just going to dip it into your clear. And I'm using Sparkle & Co.'s dip liquids, and I'm using Sparkle & Co. Crystal Clear, which is DP90. So you're going to tap off the extra. And then this is my biggest tip, is to go in with an orange stick around your cuticle line. This will remove any liquid or powder that's in your cuticle. It'll help give you that nice rounded finish that you want. And yeah, so it just makes sure that it's nice. And I go in with the pointed end of the orange stick as well, not the kind of tapered end. I always use the pointed edge. So if you don't have orange sticks, you could definitely use a toothpick. And then after that, I'm going to go in with my first coat of solidify, and you want to kind of saturate the nail. And it's just one dip, so I mean just your normal coat of solidify, and then you're going to let that dry for about a minute or until it's hardened. Okay, and so after that dries, here is my clean coat of clear base, and now I'm ready to start buffing. And I love doing the base of clear because it protects my tips and the color just pops off, leaving my clean clear base and my tips alone. So I've had these same set of tips on for almost 2 months now, which means 2 months of no soak-offs. And I also only do one dip of clear when redoing my manicures, because when I apply my tips, I build my apex with clear, so it already has a decent structure, and I don't want them thick. I just want the entire nail to be covered. And yeah, so now I'm just going in with my file and my buffer block, just making sure that my shape is correct and that I don't have any, rough edges or anything like that. And also this step is super important with the buffer block, because you want to buff it until it's smooth. If you don't have a smooth surface and it's rough when you apply your peel base, it's going to adhere to the roughness, if that makes sense. And you're going to have a harder time popping them off, as the peel base will really grip it. So you want it to be as smooth as possible. And then once that's smooth, you go in with your second coat of solidify, just enough to coat the nail, and let that dry for 2 minutes. And now I'm just wiping it off with a lint-free wipe. And then we're going to go in with Sparkle & Co. peel base. This is my favorite peel base. And I am going to go in with one full coat, covering my entire nail. And I don't go on my free edges. If it ends up happening to go on the edge, that's fine. I'm just covering the entire surface of the nail, going all the way down to the cuticle. I want to cover the entire thing. And I would say it's a fairly thin layer. I'm not, doing too much, nothing crazy, because I'm going to do 3 full coats. So you don't want them super thick, because then your nails are probably going to pop off within like 24 hours, if not sooner. So yeah, just a thin coat covering the whole nail. And then we're going to let that dry for 2 minutes. You also know when it's dry when it looks transparent and no more color, so it'll dry clear. And then also, this peel base is latex free, so you don't need to worry about that if you have any latex allergies. And then now we're going to go back in with our second coat of peel base, and I'm going to just do the same thing as I did the first time. Try to keep it off of your skin, because it dries fairly quickly, and when it dries, obviously it peels right off, but it just kind of looks a little messy, and then when you dip into your powder, you don't want it to stick to it. So just try to keep it off the skin, or just go around with the orange stick or your fingernail and get it off of there. But yeah, let that dry, and then we're on to our third and final coat of peel base. And excuse me, same process for the third coat. You just want to coat the entire nail with it. And after that, we're going to let this one dry for, I would say, about 3 minutes, just to make sure it's dried all the way through. But you'll know because it'll be completely clear, and you can just tell when it's dry. You can definitely tell by looking at it. So I would say about 3 minutes. And then once this is dry, I'm just cleaning up the edges. But once it's dry, we're going to be ready to go in with your normal manicure. You would just do this manicure how you would any other. And for this one, I am using a mix that I made using all Sparkle & Co. colors, and I will list the colors I used for my mix in the description of the video if interested. And so now that my peel base is completely dry, I am going in with my, oh, here's the color I mixed, and it's the same color that's on the rest of my nails. But anyway, I'm going to go in with my base bond, and I'm going to do a very thin coat of base bond, and I'm going to stop about 3/4 of the way down my nail, just because I don't want it to be too thick at the cuticle. So just go about 3/4 of the way down, and then I'm going to dip it into my jar. And then after I dip it in, you're going to tap off the excess powder off of your nail. And then I'm going to go right back in with my orange stick just to remove any liquid or powder that might be hanging out by my cuticle and ensure that perfectly rounded cuticle line. And also, that's why thin coats of base bond are super important, so that way it doesn't like flood your cuticle or anything like that. So just, yeah, orange stick is my favorite nail trick that I have ever found. But yep, just tap off the extra, brush off the excess powder, and then we'll go back in with our second coat of base bond, this time covering the full nail going all the way to the cuticle, but fan it out towards your cuticle so that way it's not thick and you don't have those harsh lines at your cuticle line. And also between your dips, like after I do this coat of base bond, wipe off your brush on a paper towel. This will make sure you don't get any powder in your base bond, causing it to get like goopy or anything. And also, if you are interested in any of these products I use, like Peel Base or the colors or anything like that, go to sparkleandco.com and you can use code SPARKLE10 for 10% off your order and free shipping over $25. And if you use my name or anybody's name in the notes at checkout that helps you or inspires you, you'll receive a $9 credit for your first purchase. Or if you sign up for a subscription bag, which are amazing, you'll get an $18 credit for using a referral. And I'll put all that info in the description as well. But now after my second dip, I am just going in with my orange stick again to clean up the cuticle. And you're going to tap off the extra, brush off the extra powder on there. And then I'm going to go in with my third coat. And if this was a chunky glitter, I would most likely stop at 2 dips and then top it with the final coat of clear. Or I would do 3 dips of color and then a final coat of clear. But since this powder is mostly shimmer and the glitter is so fine you can't even feel the glitter in it, so there's no need. I'm not even going to bother topping it with clear. But I'm just going back in with my third and final coat of base bond, keeping it thin and, you know, fanning it out, kind of pushing back towards the cuticle and not just putting all the product there at the cuticle. I'm going to put it about halfway and then fan it out towards it. And this will prevent your nails from flooding. You don't want any extra liquid in your cuticle line. And you're going to dip it into the jar for your third and final dip. And I poured some in my lid just because I couldn't reach it all the way down my nail, so it left a little gap. So that way I just made sure the full nail was covered. And then go in with your orange stick and clean up the cuticle. You can see the little uneven edge right there. And the cuticle trick just takes care of that. So I got that nice rounded edge. And then we're going to go in, and after I get it all even, I'm going to take my duster brush and just brush off the extra powder. Okay, and now we're done with the powder, so I'm going to close that up so I don't knock it over. And then I'm going to go in with my solidify, and you want to saturate the nail with solidify on the first coat because you want it to soak through all 3 of those layers. So put a pretty decent amount of solidify on there. You want to make sure it's soaked through the whole entire thing, because this is what's going to set and harden your powder. And after you do your solidify, you're going to let that dry for 1 to 2 minutes. I would say typically about a minute is long enough, but when you have a lot on there, I would wait closer to 2. And then now that that is dry, I'm going to take a buffer block and a nail file. And my file, I'm just going to go through and file my edges to make sure they're nice and straight. And my shape is how I want it, nice and even. I'm going to file the tip straight across because I'm going for, I guess it's kind of a squoval look, because I have my corners, but they're slightly rounded. So I just don't like harsh corners. Being a mom, I don't want to poke my baby. So yeah, just going to round them out a little bit. And I have another video on my channel of me shaping my nails to 6 different shapes. So if you want to reference that video at all for any kind of shapes, I'll show you some little techniques and you can see me file. And also, when filing my shape, I'm going to take that same file and I'm going to go around my cuticle line. It doesn't need a whole lot of buffing because it's not very thick right there, but I just want to ensure that I get that nice rounded cuticle, make sure there's no lumps around the cuticle line, and just make sure I get that nice rounded shape and that there's not any extra thickness right there. Because if you have really thick cuticles, you're more likely going to get a lot of lifting there, and I don't want that. I want them to last a few days. And that's what I love about the 3 coats of peel base, is I can literally complete this nail and turn around and pop it off easily with no damage if I wanted to. Or, which actually I did that the other night. I hated the manicure I did and I immediately popped it right off before I even put glossy on. No damage, no nothing. I solidified with just my clear base and then I waited till the next day to do this exact manicure. But anyway, just filing off any bumps I have, cleaning up that cuticle line, and then I'm going to take my buffer block and I'm going to go through and smooth it all out, even though I technically wouldn't even need to hit it with a buffer block just because it's already smooth. Shimmer powders might as well be the same as like solid powders. I mean, there's nothing there to really buff off, but I'm a weirdo and always have to buff, so just make sure there's no bumps or anything like that. And I know this is just a repair video kind of showing you what happens if I pop a nail off, but this is also the exact same process I use for every new manicure as well. For my nail prep, one of these days, I will record a video of how I prep my nails before a manicure and everything else. I'll show how I apply tips to my real nails and everything like that also. And if there's any videos that you guys are curious to see or any nail designs you want me to do, just drop a comment. And I always go through and write everything down. So just give me some video ideas of anything you want to see. Okay, and you can see my nail nice and buffed. And now I'm going to go in with my second step of solidify. And this one you don't need to saturate. You just want to cover the nail with it. And then you're going to let that dry for 1 to 2 minutes. I would say I normally go closer to just 1 minute, but just to make sure it's nice and dry. And then I'll go through with a lint-free wipe and wipe it off to prevent any extra solidify from transferring onto my glossy coat brush, which could cause it to harden, or transferring back into my glossy bottle, which will cause it to also harden or get stringy, and you don't want that. So just wipe your nail off after with a dry lint-free wipe. Okay, and now I'm going in with my first coat of glossy coat, keeping it thin. And you want to try to keep this coat about 2 to 3 strokes. And then going to wipe my brush off on a paper towel before putting it into my bottle. And then now you're going to wait, I would say it takes about 15 or so seconds. And you can kind of tell on the nail when it starts to shrink to your nail, like not dry, but it kind of looks like it's drying. That's when you're ready for your second coat. So I'm going to go back in with my second and final coat of glossy coat and just keep it pretty thin. And this one you can take a little bit longer to do because you want it to look nice. And normally I would cap my free edges with my glossy coat, but since I have that peel base on and I don't want them to last for a long time, I'm going to skip the step of capping my edges. And then now I'm going to wait about 2 minutes for that to dry and it'll be completely done. And also, this is why I love Sparkle & Co.'s dip liquids. Like, look how shiny that is. And it'll stay shiny like that the entire time. And just a little trick, if you get any foggy or cloudy spots on your nails after, hit it with a swipe of acetone on a paper towel, and it'll shine it right back up. Don't ask me why, but it definitely will. Like, if any of it dried foggy, just go right over it really quick with a super fast swipe of acetone, and you're good. But here they are. You can't even tell I popped it off or anything happened to it. Nice and shiny, and we are good to go. And here's the finished mani. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe to my channel, follow me on Instagram, and let me know of any videos you would like to see. Deuces and smooches.